Hello there, everybody. Owen O'Leary here from the Tuition Centre. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice and strategy for your upcoming pre-exam in higher level maths. So today is the 2nd of February. The announcement from Norma Foley was yesterday. We're not 100% certain, but the implication from what she said is that the layout of this year's exam is the same as last year's. And what that means is there are going to be 220 marks in total in each of the two papers. They are going to be divided as follows. So section A, concepts and skills, your short questions. There are going to be 6 questions. You're going to get a total of 120 marks, and it's your best 4 from 6. So each question is worth 30 marks, your best 4 from the 6. In section B, context and applications, the problem solving questions, there are 4 questions. It's 100 marks, and it's your best 2. So each question is worth 50 marks, and it's your best 2 questions. So what I'm going to be talking about here is your strategy that I would suggest that you employ for the pre-exam, because it's going to be obviously the same sort of idea that you'd use in the real exam, and you want to try and learn from it. Now, obviously listen to your teacher. If your teacher is suggesting that your exam will be different from what the Leaving Cert will now look like, that's fair enough. So you have to listen to what they're going to say. But presuming that you have a layout which is the same as the Leaving Cert 2022, this is what I would advise. Paper 1 and paper 2 exam strategy, slightly different from each other. So I'll explain why. So here's the key thing. When you start the exam, you haven't done an exams of these magnitude before, Leaving Cert pre-exams. So when it starts, you could be a bit nervous. Try to find 1 or 2 short questions that you recognize that you're good at, that you say, I know how to do that. Try, find one of those, start it, do another one. And at that stage, then take your time, take a few breaths, relax, have a look through the rest of the paper. Some people will advise you look through the whole paper at the start. Maybe fair enough, but there's a lot of reading in it. So I often think find 2 that you can do those, and then take a little breath, have a look around, try and figure out which ones you're going to do next. I would suggest that you finish your requirement of short questions. So have a look through the remaining 4, pick the 2 that you like the best and do those. Okay, leave for now the 2 that you're least confident about. Here is the next key bit of information. There are 4 long questions. Spend time reading them. It might take 5 minutes to read them. Spend time reading them and carefully pick the ones you want to do. You might look at the first part and of a question, you might look at it and say, oh God, I know how to do part A, great, I'll do this. But part B might be difficult, part C might be really difficult. So there's no point just trying part A and get that right. You've got to be able to be sure that you are going to be able to make a good stab of all of the parts. So therefore, have a proper look through. That's a bit of an unusual thing again in a maths exam, to spend maybe 5 minutes reading, but that's what I would advise. Pick the 2 that you're most confident about and complete those 2 long questions one after the other. It's likely at this time that you will have extra time remaining. Do not leave early. Do not, finish up and start studying for the next exam. Spend all of the time in there trying to maximize your marks, because you want to learn as much as you can from this exam for the real exam in June. Okay, so stay in there, keep working away. So here is my advice then. And this might not be the same as what everyone would say, but this is what I would advise people to do. Okay, if you feel like your long questions have done okay, they've gone like you expected, I would not advise you to do another long question. Each long question is 50 marks. It would take roughly 25 minutes to do it. Are you going to, do better in your 3rd long question, spending 25 minutes at it, than you would if you try to improve the long questions that you already have? I think you would do better trying to improve them. So my advice is to just do 2 long questions and try and make sure you pick them right and then, keep working at them, test it, validate your answers, verify, see what you can do. Now, that's for paper 1. My advice for paper 2 is slightly different, and it depends on whether you did probability. Let's say you did a long question in probability. That long question in probability is often shorter than 25 minutes, because the nature of probability is that if you understand the question, it's often quite quick to do it. So therefore, you might have more time again left over. And then in that case, if you had done a probability long question, I would advise that you maybe try another long question. The other reason is that it is, I like probability myself, but it is easy to misinterpret the questions. So therefore, there's an increased chance you could think you were right, but be wrong. So therefore, it might be worth your while to do an extra long question if you have done a probability one. So my general advice is this. At this point in time, you would have 4 short questions and 2 long questions done. My general advice at this point would be to spend your time doing 1 extra short question, if you kind of like the look of a 5th one, and you think you might do better than one of the other ones you've done so far. Again, there's a chance you'll think you're right in a question, but you might be wrong. I would be inclined at this stage, if you have 5 short questions and 2 long questions, my advice would be to spend the extra time going back through the questions you have completed, particularly the 2 long questions, okay? Check to see if you have answered the question that was actually asked. So often as a corrector, when you're looking through the work, you'll see they've answered something, they've found the area, but they were meant to find the volume. They've found the x coordinate, but they haven't found the point. They haven't found the x and the y. Make sure you answer what's asked. Make sure you give the correct unit. Don't lose out on a mark. If in the questions you have done, try not to leave anything blank. So, you might have a question, you mightn't be sure what it means, but if you don't know what to do, do what you know. So that means you just try the first thing, try something, try and get it started. Because sometimes once you get it started, you can go on to the second step and so on. And if you don't have a clue, just try something. There's no marks for a blank answer, so try something. And last but not least, remember, you don't have to get everything right. What's important is that you get started. If you're looking for a H6, the truth is there might be loads of questions that you don't get right, but you need to be picking up your attempt marks in the difficult questions. You get some questions right, and before you know it, you're over the 40%. But if you're leaving blanks all over the place, you're getting zeros from them, and you're facing an uphill battle. So that's it. Mathematicians often think, you've got to be right. But what's most important in the Leaving Cert exam and the pre is that you get started. Okay, on that note, I will wish you the very best of luck in the pre-exam. Sometimes it's difficult, it can be a difficult exam, but keep battling in there and you'll learn a lot for the real exam in June.